other. My name is Matej. I'm assistant professor of European law at the Graduate School of Government and European Studies, and I'm also in charge of this school for 3 years now, or 2 years now. And I'm very happy to host this conference on legal theory, legal argumentation, and legal philosophy that has been this year generously prepared and organized by my dear colleague, who's a professor of ethics at the same school, at the Graduate School of Government and European Studies. The conference has some legacy now. It's already the fourth meeting. It originally started at the European Faculty of Law, where we held 3 meetings so far, and each year we had. So it's been a sort of a meeting of friends. But this year, since we got also some external funding, which I have to generously acknowledge, the funding by the Slovenian Research Agency, we were able to invite some more people, and I'm also very happy that you accepted our invitations. The subject of this year's conference is a strange one, because we are also living in strange times. And this conference also has a tradition of having very rich, interdisciplinary, sometimes unfocused debates. So we said we better do it really as broad as possible. So we said the title of this year's conference is Natural Law in Postmodern Times. Question begging. First, what is natural law? Secondly, what is postmodern times? And then how to apply this to all sorts of contexts that we'll be discussing. I should be speaking more because the time will be running fast, and I will be just passing out the word to my colleague who's going, as he said, to explain more about the organizational and technical stuff related to the conference. Thank you very much once again for being here.
Thank you, Matej, for this introduction. As said, I'm more in charge with the organizational bits, so thanks also to Marko, Jannej, and Matej, who helped a lot with preparing this conference, and to our colleague Kaja, who is at the faculty, who was a contact person. A few notes, as Matej said, we got some funding for the conference, not a very large one, so we have to stay within the limits of this budget. That's why I will just shortly present what we can offer you. As you saw, there will be a conference dinner this evening. I propose to take counts who is coming, or whether you have some person who is with you before the coffee break today at around 11 o'clock. So still somebody might still come, so we'll count the number of persons, and I don't know how many will be coming. The dinner and the drinks, the initial drinks within the dinner are covered by the organizers. What you order further in the night or in the evening, let's say, before start, will come out of your pockets, unfortunately, because we cannot cover it. And as for the coffee breaks, we will cover 2 of the coffee breaks with snacks, both in the morning sessions. They will be prepared downstairs, and you're all welcome to join. On the other breaks, you feel free to do what you wish. Go for a coffee, go for a smoke if you're a smoker, or go for a very short walk. For today's lunch break, we just planned a short break because we didn't know how many of you will be interested in lunch at all. So it's also up to you whether you want to take a walk or a coffee or a real lunch at the hotel or in nearby restaurants. You can decide for yourself. If you want to spend this time for discussion, you can also stay here. So that's it. I think everything else is sorted. If you have any questions, problems, troubles, you can refer to me or any of the other organizers. Here's also our colleague, student Špela, who will help us with the filming the talks, and she also has a lot of information about what you can do in Bled if you want to take a boat to the lake, if you want to take a carriage around the lake, or if you want to have a nice dinner or lunch tomorrow by yourself. She has the information where are the places to go and who to contact and what to do here. So you can refer to her during the breaks. Okay, and now let's just start with the conference. I'm very glad that I can announce our first speaker this year. This is Professor Seppo Sajama from Finland, from the Department of Law, University of Eastern Finland, Joensuu. Seppo is a philosopher who in recent years shifted to the Department of Law. He's a great friend of Slovene philosophers. For years he learned Slovene in order to read the most important Slovene philosopher, Franz Weber, in originals. He wrote a very interesting book, which we, among others, which we also have in Slovene, titled Misel in Smisel, which is the best introduction to phenomenology, not only in Slovene, but possibly overall. So if you get a chance, please read this book. The title of his talk is Why Must Norms Be General? So please sit down to speak before to you.
Thank you. And thank you for your kind invitation. It's a pleasure to accept it. I had, I will first stand and then I sit down when I start to faint. If it's all right. I had an idea how this thing should go, but it turns out that all papers and talks, they have a life of their own, a will of their own. So yesterday this did the last trick to me, but I tried to win this thing anyway. The topic is why must norms be general? It sounds like a very stupid question because of course norms must be general. But when we ask stupid questions, we go down to the fundamentals. And at least for a philosopher, this is just what we are paid for doing. And so I grabbed an old text that I found interesting some 15 or 20 years ago, namely the treatise on law by Thomas Aquinas, where he says that the further we go into details, the more troubles we will get. And I thought that that was a pretty good start for an explanation of why norms must be general. But it turned out that it has very big difficulties in it. But I will start from asking something different. Why there have been no answers, as far as I can see, to this question. Maybe one of the reasons is respect for Aristotle. He said that 3 times at least in his writings, that of course laws must be general. They cannot go into details. Twice in his politics and once in his ethics. And maybe many people thought that if Aristotle has said something, it's not polite to ask why he's right. Well, the second reason why this question has been asked so seldom, maybe respect for another legal philosopher, H.L.A. Hart. He doesn't tackle this question as far as I remember. I couldn't check for reasons of limited time, but I think that his theory of the open texture of language is an explanation why norms must be general. But I don't think that it is a good answer. And I don't claim that Hart himself has said so, because the same open texture has to do both with general norms and more particular or detailed norms. And no philosopher of law has answered this question as far as I can see, but the answer can be reconstructed pretty easily. The first, these are not in any temporal or logical order. The first one is Hans Kelsen, whose analysis of a legal norm is something like this: for all x, if this is the same form as in scientific laws. For all x, if x is an f, then x is a g. If you, for everybody, if you commit a certain crime, you will get a certain punishment, for instance. You can add there this operator, modal operator, it ought to be the case, and so on. And you can discuss where to put it, but this is the essential thing, that generality is already in the logical form of a norm. But in fact, this is only the formal generality. There should be something more material, because this is the real question. What we can write in the place of f and g? It is there that we get the material generality. Well, then, a philosopher from whom Kelsen had learned the most is Immanuel Kant. And he would explain the generality of norms by saying that all acceptable norms must be universalizable. And whatever is universalizable is general, automatically. The third possible answer comes from the utilitarian group, and nobody has said so, as far as I know, but it is so obvious. Generality means efficiency. To have special rules for each different person or for each small group is not very economic. Or that details can be pretty expensive. People in the law and economics movement have found different sorts of costs that this might cause, but I think I will skip that and go to the main thing. Thomas Aquinas. And he has a very clear consequentialist answer to the question. The more, or in Latin, quanto magis ad propria descenditur, tanto magis invenitur defectus. The deeper we dive into details, the bigger are the problems that we encounter. And the problem is that the norm that we meet doesn't work. And from the context it's plain that he is thinking of a legislator. But how is his thesis to be understood? Does he say that all norms should be as general as possible? This is what I thought at first, but then it occurred to me that he also has a very general rule already. The first principle of natural law, or first principle of law. Bonum est faciendum et prosequendum et malum vitandum. You must do good and avoid evil. If norms must be as general as possible, then this is the one norm that we need. But he certainly didn't think that this is enough. He had his concepts of determination, determinatio, and then the other one of making the principle more concrete. He didn't give it any name, but we call it deduction. So we need something to make these laws, general laws, more concrete. And, so it seems that Aquinas' view could be something like this. If here is efficiency and here is generality, 0 and 1. So it goes something like this. First, it's very good to add some details, but at some point it turns out that the further details will not help anything. They will be counterproductive. Let's see how much time I do have. Some minutes here. I say only a little bit about this determination and deduction, because in his treatise on law, he said that you can derive something from natural law. One way is to do it as conclusions from principles, as the mathematicians do. The other way is to determinations of something that is common to many things. And his example is how a builder applies the general idea or general concept of a house to the particular house that he is building. And the details are so few that you cannot really be certain what he means, but he says in any case that if you use this mathematical sort of determination or deduction, as I would call it, then it is pretty safe. But if you take this determinatio, then there will be difficulties. The thing that he has to say that was that if you use determinatio, then the result is that the character of natural law is not anymore in the conclusions. They are not so certain as the ones that you get when you use deduction. His examples about this deduction sort of deriving was that you know that criminals have to be punished, but then no, excuse me, this was from the soft version. Yeah, then you must use determinatio and just decide the reasonable punishment, but there are no strict rules. But on the other hand, an example of deduction is that if you know that you must not harm anybody, then you can be quite sure that you cannot kill anybody. Because killing means harming. It's a conceptual necessity. So, there is not a clear answer in all of this, I think. And I noticed it too late to rewrite and rethink the whole thing. So I try to save Aquinas in another way. Going to the philosophy of science, there are very many interesting things to be learned, and that can be transplanted to the theory of norms. In 1961, Nelson Goodman showed that in discussing the goodness of a scientific hypothesis, it is not enough to consider its safety or its generality and its strength or its particularity. I'm not sure about the details, but his great idea was that another dimension must be opened here, and we must speak about the simplicity of the hypothesis. And to take a trivial example, to take the famous example used by Hart in the concept of law, no vehicles are allowed in the park. It can be made more detailed by listing all possible vehicles. According to Webster, it means means of transport, or according to the Oxford Dictionary, it means means of conveyance used on land or in space. But this doesn't include sailing boats. But EU law has decided that a yacht is a vehicle in a famous case. So that couldn't be used in Hart's park. Well, so it's really good to keep norms simple and not mention all the possible details. Because it adds to the complexity of the norm, whatever that means. We have an intuitive idea what a simple norm is and a complex one, but it's very hard to spell out the details. Like if you add to this no vehicles in the park, like no tents and no portable grills either, it becomes very difficult to say what is included and what is not. And finally, following Goodman's idea, Willard van Orman Quine and G.S. Allian, or Julian, I don't know how his name is pronounced, proposed a whole set of virtues of hypotheses in their book, The Web of Belief, from the early 70s. These virtues of hypotheses can be very easily transformed into virtues of norms. There were 6 of them. Conservatism, which means that the addition of a new norm should not disturb the system. Modesty, which means that it is unnecessary to regulate the phenomenon A and B if regulating A will do the trick. Simplicity, keep the content of a norm as simple as possible. Generality, if the phenomenon X must be regulated and if it can be best done by regulating the phenomenon Y at the same time, do so. And then something that they did have under this name is realism. Yeah, they had this, because there were 2 editions and there were different versions there. Realism, don't forbid the impossible. And second, don't command the necessary. And finally, accuracy. Norms and concepts must be as clear as possible. So this shows that there are more virtues of norms than just generality and particularity. Moreover, there can be virtues of whole normative systems. I just mentioned this because this is something that occurred to me so late that I haven't really developed all these conclusions. If you think of a mathematical system, they say that it has several systemic virtues. David Hilbert in the late 19th century said that at least the virtues of consistency, completeness and non-redundance are systems of a mathematical system. That the system is consistent means that it doesn't contain contradictions. It goes to the normative system as well. The system is complete if for all sentences P it is possible to determine whether or not P belongs to the system or not. A legal correspondence might be that for every case it is possible to find an answer in the law. And the system is non-redundant if all the sentences make a difference to the identity of the system. That there is nothing that is superfluous. Everything is needed and there is not more than is needed. Some religious people seem to think that the Bible has all these properties. It is consistent because rightly interpreted it contains no contradictions. It is complete because it contains answers to all questions, all important questions. And third, it is non-redundant because not a single sentence can be deleted without changing the system to some extent. So, to sum up, the question is, why must norms be general? First, it is not clear that they must. It's possible that if we distinguish between formal and material generality, the material generality it's a matter of balancing something and not maximizing the content or minimizing it, as Thomas Aquinas suggested. But I think the most important thing was that generality of norms is just one virtue of norms among others. The task is not to maximize any one thing, but to find the right balance between the virtues of norms. To find the right mixture, as Plato said somewhere, about how to develop ourselves, which virtues to acquire. Well, I think that's it.